Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Africa Governance Voices podcast. It's an initiative of the African Union's African Peer Review Mechanism, where we're bringing all high-level governance conversations that used to be in boardrooms right to your phone screens or TV screens. So welcome you wherever you are joining us from, either in the African diaspora or on the African continent. A special greetings to viewers from Sierra Leone, in Freetown and all other cities where we'll be visiting for the South-South Triangular Cooperation 4th Summit that's taking place in May. We're joined by Miss Sara Hamouda. Miss Sara, you're welcome to this podcast.
Thank you very much, Lennon. I'm happy to be with you.
Miss Sara, you're the lead here, and you are putting together, you're cooking this 4th edition of the South-South Triangular Cooperation. Tell us more, what is it?
Thank you, Lennon. I'm happy to be here. The 3rd high-level forum for South-South and Triangular Cooperation for Sustainable Development is one of the African Peer Review Mechanism continental platforms, where African countries and beyond partners from the Global South are coming together, not only to discuss or to generate new communique and recommendations, but rather also to share experiences on how the Global South has been emerging since the adoption of the non-alignment movement in 1960s, as we were talking earlier, up till today, and how South-South and Triangular Cooperation modality becomes a strategic pillar in achieving sustainable development and promoting the continent regional integration.
Okay.
So this is the main idea behind the forum, and it started since COVID-19, when most of our member states were caught off by guard by the consequences and the shock of the pandemic on their planning issues.
This was born out of the pandemic.
Exactly. So it came out as we have done an exercise as APRM, and we found that there are several challenges that facing African countries, starting from issues of national planning for sustainable development, how they can achieve even global agendas like the Sustainable Development Goals, but also we found challenges to achieve continental plans like Agenda 2063.
All right. I should say it's been 70 years since countries of the developing world met in Indonesia, the so-called Bandung Conference in 1955. And the main goal at the time was, again, geopolitics, with the Cold War taking place and African countries trying to be liberated from colonialism. And the Global South came together, and we saw the achievements of the non-aligned and the South-South cooperation, in that Africa became free, including other countries that were under the yoke of colonialism. Now, politically, African countries are mostly free. But to some extent, economically, African countries still struggle. Majority of them still heavily indebted. They're not developing fast enough. Now, again, in the global world, we have shifts in geopolitics, and you're convening African countries. What do you have to say would be the outcomes on the economic sector as far as financing for development from this particular summit?
Well, I think there are different aspects when it comes to economic resilience. We have already a special focus in this 3rd edition of the forum on economic resilience for achieving Agenda 2063, especially that the 2nd 10-year implementation plan of Agenda 2063 was just launched last year, or adopted by the heads of states after 10 years of assessing the first 10-year implementation plan. And we have already critical enablers for the STYIP.
What is that?
And the 2nd 10-year implementation plan of Agenda 2063. And you can see clearly that we have some sectors like agriculture, like infrastructure, like energy, where most African countries are in a serious struggle. I would say that the continent needs at least $200 billion a year. $200 billion to fulfill the infrastructure gap. You can see how we are struggling even when we navigate around the continent to travel, even through the aviation, because the geography of the continent also needs a huge support. And countries for many years, because of colonialism and even beyond colonialism management, haven't been opt to accelerate I would say the infrastructure connectivity compared to Europe, for instance.
All right.
Look at the European Union as a model.
Okay.
So economic resilience is a critical component.
Okay.
You touched upon geopolitical transformation and the new global financial architecture, and this is also another thematic area where we are bringing experts and also partners from India, China, to tell us how we can overcome the economic burdens that the continent are struggling with. Because Asian tigers had wonderful experience in the 1990s with the economic transformation, while the continent was still struggling with the debt management. And by today, we ended up with more than 30 African countries with issues of credit worthiness. We are bringing new partners on table. We are bringing Saudi Arabia.
Oh, so this time around, you have more partners.
I think so, yes.
So who are these partners this year that are collaborating with you to host this initiative?
Before touching the new, I would not say they are new. I would say they're emerging partners and donors. And actually, most of them have very strong bilateral connections with some African countries, but not with the rest, and not with the African Union per se. So I'm glad to announce that China, Africa has been always very strong narrative. India, Africa is coming across to be also a strong partnership, but also we are bringing some partners from Saudi Arabia, like the Saudi Fund for Development, which has been very committed to support critical sectors in Africa, especially the energy, water, electricity nexus, since they have interlinkages on the citizen prosperity and economic prosperity. And I think they have done a huge contribution in West Africa when it comes to food security. We are also expecting a partner from the Islamic Development Bank. Islamic Development Bank is a bank dedicated to the members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. More than 30 countries from across the global south. And this is also a new pioneer for South-South cooperation in the global south.
And from the north, because I'm in my understanding it's South-South. Then there's the triangular brings in the north. Which countries from Europe will be part of this initiative?
I think we have the European Union per se as a bloc, but also some countries like Germany, because Germany has been advocate for triangular cooperation over the past 4 decades. And Germany also has very strong interaction with Latin America when it comes to triangular cooperation. I think through Germany and GIZ, I'm glad to announce also that they have been coming on board to support this forum. We have the United Nations organization, this is something we cannot exclude.
The whole UN ecosystem.
The whole UN family and ecosystem are coming on board.
That's good. Now, we almost forgot to actually ask you and have a conversation around what is the theme, day 1, day 2, which date, how can people access it? Is applications open in Sierra Leone? How can local participants get engaged? Where are you hosting it? Tell us more about that.
The forum is hosted from the 7th until the 9th of May. So we are literally on the corner of the forum in the International Conference Center in Freetown, the capital of Sierra Leone. And I'm glad to report that Sierra Leone, and also supported by our focal point, Minister Amara Kaloun, the Minister of Political Affairs and Public Administration, has been really taking this forum seriously. The forum stands now by the moment at presidential level, where we are expecting His Excellency Dr. Julius Bayu, the President of Sierra Leone, to attend at least the opening ceremony of the forum. We anticipate strategic partners to be around, and the forum is set for 3 days, where we are discussing thematic areas through 8 sessions. As I mentioned already, the geopolitical transformation and the global financial architecture is one of these sessions. We have also a session on G20 BRICS and how this relates to Africa's role as a potential, as an influential global player, as endorsed by Agenda 2063, Aspiration 7. Then we also have in day 2 a more, I would say, not technical, but a more oriented sessions on the ecosystem for South-South cooperation, how countries can institutionalize South-South cooperation. If you look across the continent, Lennon, we have few countries which managed to institutionalize a special unit or agency for development cooperation. We need to see this in more African countries. You have examples from Algeria, Morocco, Egypt, Tunisia, South Africa. Rwanda has recently also initiated developmental arm as part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to be leading on that. But
so be sharing these practices.
Yeah, we need to see more countries on that board. I think Nigeria also has recently come to that.
That's good. I'm interested to find out if you'll be also discussing reform of multilateral institutions. You know, African countries, particularly the African Union, has been talking about Africa having seats in the Security Council. I wonder if you'll also be talking about the AU theme of the year, looking at reparations and other topical issues that might interest reformists, people that are talking about Africa on the global stage.
I think it will be touched, but as I said, because day 2 is more technical and we have a lot of focus on economic resilience and building ecosystem, there is also another angle on civil service in Africa and digital divide and how this also contributes to the continent development and the role of APRM as a pioneering voluntary mechanism to promote good governance on the continent. We are looking back now. We invested quite reviews in Sierra Leone, as you know. We had the unconstitutional change of government target review. We had COVID-19 governance review in Sierra Leone. And we need to see now what after the reviews, how can we support the country to be able to implement the recommendations. Actually, this platform and this forum is another wake-up call and also gathering for partners and development agencies to see how we can walk the talk after launching all these reviews. But an important theme that I'm interested that you will, I'm sure that you would like, is the role of youth and Africans in diaspora and women in promoting this global connectivity in the global.
I know previously, Sarah, that there used to be exhibitions where young people that promote Agenda 2063, young people that promote SDGs, usually get an opportunity, like from Cape to Cairo, to convene and showcase their work. I hope this is still taking place.
Yes, I'm glad to announce that the UNDP regional office in Addis Ababa, with the support of the regional center there, they're actually the one who reached out, and we discussed that we want to put our hands together to sponsor at least 16 exhibitors from across the continent, but of course heavily from West Africa, to share their experiences and initiatives, how they're contributing to the local community. Because at the end, Lennon, the idea also from this forum is how to strengthen the social contract between citizens, national government officials and leaders, because we have different segments of participants in this one. So the exhibitors are coming. I'm glad to say that they're actually now being trained while we are talking today. They have orientation session, how they should be prepared. And from our side as APRM, we are bringing them to see some visibility and media visibility, to meet some donors and see our partners and see how we can take up and elevate a little bit their initiatives to get more support.
I should congratulate you for the amazing work you've been doing in rounding up development partners, rounding up African Union member states, the civil society, youth, women, all sections of society to come together to have such a conversation at such a summit. Now, in conclusion, what are the key messages that that will come out of this forum, or that you'd like people to actually know before you actually host this summit?
Well, before we host the summit, it's of course that, first of all, this forum is a call for the continent for regional integration to strengthen economic and political integration, but mostly important for APRM to link with our member states and with our national structures and show them that this platform is for all of them to be part of the conversation, along with the Continental Secretariat on good governance, improving civil service, enhancing economic resilience, because the APRM national structures have a very strategic role to play. But also our youth, females, female entrepreneurs, Africans and diaspora, they are part of this transformation.
That's good.
And secondly, and mostly importantly, our partners from the Global South, India, China, regional blocks now, Organization for Southern Cooperation, which is coming new also to our family, to also give this narrative of capacity building
That's good. That's
for the
good.
continent.
I actually hope, Sarah, that the outcomes of this convening can feed into the G20 discussions that will be taking place in South Africa. Yeah.
And I'm glad also to announce that with the UN Office for South-South Cooperation, I think the takeaways and the outcomes of this forum will be tabled before member states at the UN High-Level Committee on South-South Cooperation end of May. So
it's just not a conference.
It's not just a conference, it's a continuation of this Global South solidarity, mutual respect, and economic prosperity.
Lovely, lovely. Now, for those that will be joining online, following on X, following on YouTube and all the social media accounts, what's the hashtag that they should follow so that they can retweet and let others join in? I'm particularly interested in learning some of the key sort of themes that will be there.
No, you are very good in that, I know. I think the theme is already, the hashtag is developed by our smart and amazing comms team. It's a hashtag HL high level from HLF.
Okay.
SSTRC and R is
okay.
small.
We'll put it right here.
It's
right?
one word.
Okay.
High level forum for South-South Triangular Cooperation.
Okay.
So stay with us, and we look forward to welcoming you in Freetown very soon.
So, Sarah, the third South-South Triangular Cooperation Summit is taking place in Sierra Leone. I think I might have got it wrong. It's the third, not the fourth,
Yes,
right?
The third.
Okay. Now, we are multilingual with the African Union. We're trying to make sure that those that are speaking Arabic in North Africa are part of this message and participate properly. Those that are speaking French are able to hear. And I know you are multilingual. So I need you to take my job right now and sort of let people know about this summit. Come, hit it. Tell us in French or Arabic. Yes.
D'accord. Je commence en français et après je vais continuer en arabe. I will speak with French and then I continue with Arabic. Le troisième forum africain de haut niveau sur la coopération sud-sud et la coopération triangulaire pour le développement durable et une initiative d'OMAEB, le mécanisme africain pour les pairs, pour améliorer la coopération régionale entre les pays africains, mais aussi entre les pays africains et pays de Sud global. Cette édition de forum se focalise sur le rôle du Sud global dans le renfort de nouvel ordre international. Et je pense que ce sera un forum international parce que nous avons un groupe de partenariat international et aussi partenariat de global, Sud global.
Shukran.
Qui sera attendre.
I would then say shukran.
Can I say one thing on the theme? The focus?
Of course. You can say something on the theme.
Okay. La troisième édition de la forum, en fait, se focalise sur le sujet de résilience en Afrique. Elle focalise sur la transformation géopolitique dans notre continent et comment les changer de un nouvel ordre financier mondial en Afrique. On a aussi discuté, on va discuter l'impact de BRICS sur le potentiel de l'Afrique.
Lovely.
La résilience économique dans le cadre au deuxième plan de l'agenda 2063.
Merci beaucoup, mademoiselle. Now in Arabic.
Okay. In Arabic, I would say المؤتمر الثالث رفيع المستوى لتعاون الجنوب والتعاون الثلاثي هو أحد المؤتمرات الإقليمية تحت إشراف الآلية الأفريقية لتقييم الوزراء وهي مقرها في جوهانسبرغ جنوب أفريقيا. والمؤتمر يهدف إلى تمكين الدول الأفريقية، تعزيز التكامل الاقتصادي بين الدول الأفريقية، وأيضا خلق مساحة للشباب والمرأة الأفريقية للتشاور حول موضوعات تخص الجنوب العالمي والتحول الذي نمر به جميعا. أنا سعيدة أن أعلن أن المؤتمر سوف يعقد في مدينة فريتاون عاصمة سيراليون من 7 إلى 9 من مايو الشهر القادم إن شاء الله. كونوا معنا. شكرا جزيلا.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Miss Sara Hamouda, my colleague and lead expert on governance, working with SDGs, coordinating continental initiatives such as the South-South Triangular Cooperation. And she really gave us snippets on what's going to come at this upcoming conference that's taking place in Freetown, Sierra Leone. It's patronized by the president of Sierra Leone, and we really look forward to this conference. Again, we encourage you to like, subscribe, share with your friends, tell them that there will be a conference that they would like to follow virtually. Those in Sierra Leone could find themselves at the conference. We hope to see you there. Again, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. But this time around, we're joined by my dear sister and good friend, Miss Chrissy Dube. She's serving at Good Governance Africa as the head of governance, insights, and analytics. Chrissy, welcome to our table.
Thanks, Len. Thank you for having me. Good to see you again.
It's good to have you here. You must just let the people know that you didn't pay me anything. You are here by your own account, and good work that you do.
Of course, representing a governance organization, obviously advocating against bribes. So obviously,
that's good.
No bribes paid to be here.
That's good. We want to talk about the South-South Triangular Cooperation Summit that is taking place in Freetown, Sierra Leone. This is the fourth one.
Yeah.
We know that your institution is part of the exhibition that will take place at the margins of this very important summit. Are you excited? What are you excited about when this comes?
I'm very excited about it, Len. Firstly, I haven't been to Sierra Leone before. It's going to be my first time.
Have you been to West Africa?
I have been to West Africa, but just not Sierra Leone. So I'm excited about being in Sierra Leone, but also excited about participating in this fourth convening. And I think it's very interesting that we have civil society represented there, particularly because civil society is the heartbeat of accountability with regards to involving the citizens and making sure that their voices are represented. So Good Governance Africa is really happy to be involved in this and looking forward to it.
Yeah, tell us more about Good Governance Africa. I know you guys are based in Rosebank, Johannesburg, but you have some satellite offices throughout the continent. What kind of work do you guys do as far as promoting within the name Good Governance Africa?
Great.
What good about governance are you promoting? Yes.
Great, Lynn. Thank you. So, like you mentioned, our office is based in Rosebank. That's our Southern Africa regional office.
Okay.
And we also have centers in West Africa. There's a center in Accra in Ghana for that region. That's the West Africa regional office. Okay. We also have an office in Nigeria, in Lagos.
In Lagos, okay.
Right, and that's dealing with the Nigerian population and the governance issues in Nigeria as well that are more resource-based and not particularly, like the ones in the rest of the region. Okay. We also have a center in Addis, in Ethiopia, covering that region. And we're also looking to expand into the other regions of the continent. But like you asked, what does Good Governance Africa do? So Good Governance Africa exists to improve governance within the continent. And we do this by, strengthening the states and state institutions, as well as, encouraging active citizenry from the parts of the citizens.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the exhibition that you'll be showcasing in Freetown in Sierra Leone, what will you be showcasing at this exhibition? What kind of work would you be showcasing?
So with regards to Sierra Leone, we are particularly showcasing on the work that we are doing with the youth and women with regards to our Young Advocates for Good Governance program that we'll be launching soon, as well as the Girl Child Project that we have annually. So we believe that youths are not only beneficiaries of change, but they are part of change. So the Young Advocates for Good Governance program is looking to mobilize youth or engage youth as agents of change. And the Girl Child program is focusing on empowering young girls in Africa with the need for agency and change and the different challenges that they face in the different countries that they're in. Some of the programs that we've run with the Girl Child include, encouraging young girls to take up STEM careers, mining, as well as wildlife. Last year, we looked into the media and how young girls can, participate within the media space, be it in production, television, radio, and etc.
What's your reach on the continent in terms of the project on the young girls? Which countries have you worked on? What are some of the results you've seen so far as far as trying to empower the young girl, which I think is a very important aspect of good governance?
So all the centers are involved with regards to that project. So when it runs here in Southern Africa on the day of the Girl Child, it's also running in the other centers. And you mentioned satellite offices, that we have one in Zimbabwe as well, and they also participate. So basically Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, and it's also virtual for people who are not within the countries that I've mentioned. They can also participate in the project when we convene.
Now, for young people, the African continent is the youngest continent as far as the youth population is concerned. And a lot of young people are looking for opportunities, way to participate, and etc. And you said you will be showcasing the launch of a program. Which age groups are you looking at? How can young people in different African countries reach that particular program?
Great. So, Len, I like that you mentioned the population of the youth. And because I'm a head of, insights and analytics, I'll give you an exact figure. Over 60% of Africa's population is youth. And it's important that, like I said, we engage the youth as agents of change so that they can be part of the change that they want to see, which is what this program is encouraging. You asked about age groups. It's unique to the different centers. Like I said, there's no one size fits all when it comes to, policy and, policy recommendations. So you'd find that the challenges that the youth are facing in Southern Africa might not necessarily speak to the challenges that the youth are facing in West Africa and Central Africa.
Now, I'm trying to figure out if you need to be particularly educated with a university degree, with a diploma, with a high school, who qualifies for that program in particular, so that people know when they apply and etc.
Great. So high school through to university.
Okay.
So there isn't an eligibility criteria with regards to education, like you have mentioned.
That's good.
But we'll be targeting high schools, universities, and even the youth that are out of school, those who are looking to become entrepreneurs, those who are unemployed and looking for work. So
I'm assuming that on your website, Good Governance Africa, young people should be able to click there and be able to apply. Should be accessible in French, Arabic, in Kiswahili, if possible, Portuguese, and etc., so that it reaches all parts of the continent. Yes.
Absolutely. Once the program has been officially launched, it will be available on the website, and simply just subscribing or showing that you're interested or asking us to get in touch with you, then we will be able to take it from there. But literally, the reach is all over Africa, like you said, not restricting it to Anglophone
that's good.
and etc.
That's good. I'm very glad that you be very inclusive. Now, let's go back to the South-South Triangular Cooperation Summit that's taking place. Given the geopolitics that's taking place, the shifts, why do you think African people should pay closer attention to the South-South cooperation, really?
The answer is very simple, and Donald Trump.
What has Trump done?
It depends on how you look at it.
Okay.
For me, I like to look at, the recent developments in the international space as an opportunity for Africa to become more sustainable, for Africa to do business with Africa, and for Africa to rise. So in as much as it might be detrimental in the short to the medium term, the long term of it is that the African continent will become more sustainable and will obviously become better in supply, trading, and in investing in itself.
Why do you think at the moment, why is there less cooperation between countries of the global south? But in particular, why do you think in Africa, Africans are not cooperating in trading with each other?
I think that it all stems from, not fully embracing the Africa and the Continental Free Trade Agreement. As you'll see that, you'd find that some countries in West Africa, for example, will produce coffee and export it to Europe first.
We're just talking about coffee
only,
at that time, yes.
For example, only for the same product to then come and be imported by another West African country from Europe. Whereas the transaction could have just happened between two separate African countries and they would have benefited fully from that trade.
But other than trade, are there any other aspects within South-South cooperation that we can make use of?
Absolutely. Knowledge sharing, capacity building, and peer learning are some of the things. With the South-to-South, particularly when you involve the triangular, it's the developing states, right, that are partnering with a developed state or a multilateral organization that they can learn from and that can assist, whether it's from a funding perspective, from a knowledge sharing perspective, or capacity building perspective. But I think that what the South-to-South, triangular cooperation is trying to do is to bring developing countries together to share best practices, to learn from one another, as well as then to involve the North, whether it's through an organization like the UNDP, to then come and facilitate that and enhance the cooperation.
Now, are there any best practices where it has worked, where you can sort of showcase this is a good example of good South-South cooperation, given the long history of South-South?
That's not a good question to ask, because now the obvious example I'm going to give is with APRM and the work that
you just said to
now they're going to think that you did pay me to be here.
APRM.
In all honesty, the work that the African peer review mechanism is doing with the UN and with the member states is a clear example of best practice and showing that the South-South cooperation can work, and that if it's fully then implemented, in all the African countries and the developing countries with organizations, like the UN or other countries that are willing to participate for knowledge sharing, like I said, for best practice and for ultimately the sustainable development of the developing countries, then it would be amplified and obviously be more beneficial to the entire continent.
Now let's bring it to Agenda 2063, because most of the time when we're talking policy, we tend to focus a lot on the sustainable development goals, which are important, and most young people, they know from goal 1 to goal 17. But if you want to talk about Agenda 2063, very few people sort of understand what it's all about. How is South-South cooperation advancing Agenda 2063 and the second 10-year implementation plan of the African Union?
Yeah, so I think that it's doing that very, very well. For example, with the moonshots. Is it the moonshots and the moonlights?
With the moonshots.
The moonshots. So I think that an example of that would be the moonshots, obviously, and then that moonshot is now relatable to the different stakeholders, whether it's at CSO level, whether it's in the private sector, whether it's in the investment level, but it's just relatable to the different stakeholders, and it's practical and it's measurable. So I think that the practicality and the measurability of the moonshots is really advancing the SDGs and Agenda 2063.
That's great. As your parting shot, as someone who's getting ready to go to Sierra Leone, what's your message to those in Sierra Leone that you'll be visiting and seeing, those that will be following, some of us will be following virtually, and those from all parts of the world, because we expect the people coming from the Far East, from the Middle East, in particular China, Japan, from the whole world will be in Sierra Leone. What's What are you saying to them? What should they expect when they see Chrissy?
Okay, so to take it away from me personally and to just bring it back to the convening, is that it's not just another conference, it's not just another meeting, because like I said, we're more focused on impact. So I think that they should look out for the outcomes of the meeting, the reports that are going to be disseminated after the meeting, just so that, like you said, even if you are not there in presence, you can still stay up to date with everything that happened, be more informed, participate in action steps or anything that will be in the outcome of the meeting. So I would really encourage them to obviously follow the social media trends and as well as look out for the reports that will be disseminated after the meeting.
Lovely. Now, I want to thank you so much for coming to our Africa Governance Voices podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We hope you enjoyed being here. We have this culture of just asking you to sort of perhaps even nominating some institutions and people that can potentially come and sit here, and also how you feel about being here, literally. Please tell us more.
Great. So yeah, it's been great. It's been lovely. It's been a chat, which is lovely. And I would encourage, other civil society organizations, obviously because I'm in the civil society space, to also participate, to understand more about the work that the APRM is doing within the African Union and how the APRM can support the work that they're doing, because, the list is endless. I wouldn't want to go into that, but I would encourage, think tanks, civil society, community-based organizations to get involved and find out how they can work with the APRM to advance their goals.
Chrissy, thank you so much for coming to the APRM Continental Secretariat and sitting with us, giving us your insights. And I'm feeling formal already before the summit even takes place.
Great.
It's been a pleasure having this sort of informal conversation with you. We hope to see you again and your colleagues on this podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to speak to Chrissy. You need to follow, really. Don't miss out on this summit that will be taking place in Sierra Leone, in Freetown, on South. More details about the summit are right here. You need to follow, like, subscribe. Tell us what you're looking forward to at this summit. In particular, those that are in Sierra Leone, Freetown, young people, women, community groups who are coming to Sierra Leone, engage us. We're looking forward to hear your voices. Again, thank you so much, Chrissy.
Thank you.
Cheers.